This is Felt Recoil.
And here we are. It is Felt Recoil episode number 34. My name is Kris, and straight across from me, the ever-fetching eye candy of a man called
Patrick.
Hey, buddy, how are you?
That was awfully complimentary.
I try. I'm trying to be nice because you had to work regular work today, and I kind of did, but then I didn't. And I had the best time ever.
Do you feel like Willy Wonka right now?
I was there for the birth of all three of my children, and today was the best time ever. Terrible person I am.
All right.
I feel like Charlie in the Chocolate Factory, man. I got to go. And I'll tell you all about the little slice of heaven I got to see today. We'll start with the two most important things on today's podcast. First, a big thank you to you for even being here. Much appreciated. I feel like I meet someone new every week who's downloaded and someone who has been told about it, and that's only because of you for being here consistently and habitually. I hope we're the best addiction you have. All right. Well, actually, it's probably the worst because we're pretty miserable. And then, more importantly, number two, this week's charity of choice. Before we dive into episode number 34, we're going to talk about my time today at FN. What a fantastic time. And then we're going to talk about Live PD. And then we're going to talk about the ATF repealing and replacing certain firearms regulations, which we are on the record here as saying that's probably what's going to happen.
Why are we not funding that?
I don't know. We'll see what happens. All right. But first, the Generations Group is our charity of choice for this week, generationsgroup.com. Please visit generationsgroup.com. They are breaking the cycle and transforming lives. They're based out of South Carolina, right up the street from where we live and right up the street from where we sit right now recording this podcast. Generations is one of a kind. Since 1991, they've provided the only program of their kind in the state that leads the way to the end of the sexual abuse cycle for young boys who have been sexually abused. And they work towards the goal of transforming lives to ensure no more victims. You can browse their website at generationsgroup.com and find out how they do it. I think this is a fair way to describe it, and I don't mean it to sound in any way callous or cavalier, but they're reacclimating victims of terrible, terrible crimes here back into society. There's a huge loss of trust when you've been victimized in any way, but especially in a way that just robs you of every bit of innocence you ever had. And there's few organizations out there as worthy as Generations Group. And I would implore you and beg you and whatever other cool word there is for just asking very nicely and sincerely that you visit generationsgroup.com and consider volunteering or making a donation today. As always, either the government decides how your money gets spent, studying monkeys in Africa, or you decide and donate to places like generationsgroup.com. Thank you. Appreciate it. You can also find them at feltrecoilshow.com. Go there and check out a list of our charities of choice and check out our new Facts Over Feelings shirt. So facts, not feelings. Facts, not feelings. If you like to base your opinion in fact and not on your feelings like a socialist Antifa, then you need a facts, not feelings shirt, and we would appreciate it. Every purchase, 1/3 of the proceeds will be donated to a charity listed on our website. Okay, so feltrecoilshow.com, grab some swag, donate to a charity that is doing really good work all around the country. We have a whole list of them there. They will all get a little bit of what you spend on the website. Okay. All right, I think that covers the basis for the start, and here we go. It is late, almost 11 p.m. Sorry to be late getting home, Patrick.
It happens.
Today, I learned a little something that I'll share as kind of a life hack tip, and that is it never hurts to ask, never hurts to ask. And so I asked the FN Pro Shop in Columbia, South Carolina, if I could film my experience. I've just been dying to get the 509. And for the record, by the way, they're not giving me a gun, okay, or anything of that sort.
It's good because I would beat you up and take it.
Yeah, probably. This isn't a commercial for them. This is legitimately, and if you go back and listen, I said that the only gun at NRA Atlanta this year that rivaled the H9 for my affection was the FN 509. And so I've really been looking forward to being able to get one of those, and they've just been terribly hard to find. Well, I had to be in Columbia today for work anyway, and I said, well, why not see if the Pro Shop has one? I'll just go pick it up. And so they did. They had them in stock, and I said, hey, if I come by, can I film? Would you guys be okay with me bringing a camera and just filming my experience? We do this little podcast, YouTube channel type thing. She's like, yeah, totally cool. Come on. So I went and I got to meet the guys in the shop there and Mo, the manager. And let me just preface, if I sound like I'm measuring my words, today's adventure led me into signing a non-disclosure agreement. Legitimately. So that I could tour part of the FN facility.
They've heard the show.
Yeah.
They know who you are.
I felt so bad. Here's another thing that I learned about myself in reflection is that one thing I'm probably going to have to do if I want legitimate companies to let me hang around them is not be me as much. So
I've been saying this all along. I don't know why this is suddenly a shock to you.
We have the DJI Spark came in, and we've been using the drone a little bit and kind of getting to know it, and we were experimenting with the fact that you can put it up and do Facebook Live from the drone, and if you're on Facebook, the video will pop up, but you hear the audio off my phone. So I can legitimately hold my phone up and watch the screen for where the drone's going, and then I can talk. And so I say to poor Mo, the manager, because he's just trying to be nice. And then I'm like, you got no idea what you've gotten yourself into. So I put the drone up, and I'm talking in the phone. I'm like,
he realized that about halfway through this was like, oh, crap.
I think I'm explaining to you the very moment he realized
Go ahead.
I put the drone up. It's about 300 feet in the air, totally within legal limits and all that. And it does occur to me that the Pro Shop is right next to their manufacturing facility. And if you're making like 70% of the firearms used in militaries around the world, you probably don't want drones filming your facility. So I kept the camera.
Way to go, Chris.
Yeah.
Way to go.
And this is the story of how Mo got shot because they were aiming for me. No,
This is the story of how Chris violated ITAR.
So I actually kept the camera off of it and just pointed down at myself and my new best friend Mo, and in your face, Elon. And so I bring the drone down and I say, here we are. I'm talking to the phone so that anyone watching on Facebook Live will hear it. And I go, yeah, man, I'm at FN's Pro Shop, and it's awesome. And basically, if you're into guns, this is like the mecca of guns. I mean, they made me get on my knees on a rug and pray to FN before I could even look around. And I hear Mo go, hey, like, come on, man.
And he knows it can't be edited. He knows it's live. Damn it.
You said you were an adult. So I felt bad, and I was like, I should probably just be a little more measured and maybe, be a little nicer to the guys that are so nice to us. But so that is a long way of saying that I just really enjoyed the time. They were just overly generous with their time. Let me just hang around and play with all the toys. He brought a rifle out that I'd never heard of. What's it called?
The ballista.
The ballista. Thank you. And
You don't get out much, do you?
No, sir. This is a modular precision rifle, essentially. It's
Modular before SIG made modular cool.
So just as Glock is filing suit to make the Army reconsider the Glock, FN should file suit against SIG for the modular,
I think CZ, was it CZ or Steyr is already suing the pants off of SIG right now over the whole modular pistol thing.
Oh.
Because their design for the 320 is extremely similar to a Steyr pistol that's been out for several years now.
I thought maybe they were.
That's already happening. They're way ahead of FN on the lawsuit game.
I thought it was all about only Steyr was allowed to have a nonsensical nomenclature for their firearms. You got the AUG. You got the AUG. Anyway, all right. So let me just tell you a little bit about the FN Pro Shop. I do want to say thanks to Bob and Mo and just everybody that was there, and super nice. I mean, just so nice. So here's how it plays out. You can go down to the Pro Shop, and I was asked to make this very, very clear so that nobody's feelings are hurt, because you know how businesses like Academy Sports can get. Oh, wait. Does Academy carry FN pistols? Probably not, because they hate America. So God-fearing and country-loving stores that carry FN pistols or rifles might feel like there's competition. Why is FN manufacturing guns and selling them to us, but then also selling them straight to the average consumer? But
You already answered this. America.
But also, actually, the pro shop is full of demo guns and blim models that you can go get that FN doesn't think meets their requirements to sit on a shelf in a regular gun store. So
brilliant.
I saw a pistol today where the trigger guard was marred. And he said, yeah, this is a blim because if it sits on the shelf, it has to all be uniform. They have to look exactly alike. And if they don't make the shelf. And if they can't make the shelf, we can either destroy it or sell it at a heavy discount, and you can come get it. He had one in there that legitimately I almost bought. And it was a long slide FNS that had the American flag, Stars Lead the Charge, painted down the entire slide, and it was in black and gray. It was awesome. $4.99. And I was like, oh man, I came here for the 509. I really legitimately I had to just leave. So I say, hey, did you see, by the way, that video of the guy on the bus fighting the cops? You remember, if you've seen that lately? Where was that, by the way? Why can't I remember where that shootout was?
I don't know where it was.
I said, did
a town I've never heard of.
Yeah, because.
But he's shooting. He's. And I make this argument.
Wait, they told me Baltimore. It was in Baltimore.
I don't want to divert too far, but if you watch that video, what you're going to see is that the cop who you're seeing his body cam footage.
Right.
He starts out with, I think, a Remington 870.
Some sort of shotgun.
12 gauge pump. And he fires 4 or 5 shots. And then he there's no other way to describe this. He throws the shotgun to the ground. He doesn't gingerly set it up against a patrol car that he's using for cover and concealment. He throws it down like, ugh.
Right.
He is furious because he's out of ammo, and then he switches to his FN sidearm.
Yeah, and so I didn't realize till today that Baltimore requires the FNS 40 long slide with a specific set of sights. Help me out here. Man,
I don't know.
I hate it. I shouldn't have interrupted while they were talking to me, but yeah, they told me the exact sights it used, so I got to hold that gun. That
my
was cool.
point is, as someone who works in the gun retail business, I never recommend shotguns for any sort of defensive, home defense type shotguns.
No. They're great. They're great. When the bad guy hears the pump rack, he runs the other way.
And you don't have to aim it.
Listen,
you don't have to aim it.
Every crackhead breaking into every house across America knows the sound of a racking shotgun. They all know it. Do you not watch Scared Straight? They take kids into prison and they go, you ever broken into a house? And they go, yeah. And they go, you know what the sound of a racking shotgun is? And the kid's like, no. And they go, it's this. And when you hear it, you run away or you're going to die. It's basic criminal education. They all get it. So you're wrong. It's a long way of saying you're wrong.
Okay. Well, back to my point. Nobody should use one because 5 shots is not enough. I'm sorry.
Yeah, and you're right. In that video, he basically shows how useless they are in a firefight that's not close quarter, spray and pray, kill everybody.
Right.
Certainly, if you're knocking doors down in Fallujah and maybe you're guy number 2 or 3 or something in line and you're coming in to a crowded house of jihadis, yeah, I can get it. I can get that. Sure. You might even be the guy at the front of the line, man. Just spray 3 or 4 guys, distract them, and then let the guys behind you be as precise as possible with their carbines. I could get that. I don't. And again, the great job to the Baltimore PD because A, it was a white guy, so they won't get sued on this one. Who, by the way,
smart.
Who, by the way, has a very familiar looking beard. We haven't talked about the fact that if you watch the video, he's totally got Jihad Joe beard going on. And nobody, I don't know the dude's
Jihad
name.
Joe?
Yeah, I don't know the guy's name, but I'm just saying, when you're wearing the beard like that, and you're shaving your head like he had, and you're not having the mustache like he didn't have, you scream Muhammad, Muhammad, Akbar, Akbar, blow me up. And it makes me a little nervous because... you got a guy that had 2 pistols on a bus, was there to wreak havoc. The only reason I think it wasn't jihad is because he let the people off the bus.
That is true.
But he did have a jihadi beard going on. But I digress. The officer in that video basically proved that a shotgun in a firefight, because of where he was in the firefight, was a bad decision. From my vantage point, what I've seen, he's basically shooting into the front of the bus with his shotgun.
And in my opinion, and this is Monday morning quarterbacking.
Absolutely. 100%. They did what they had to do, and they won the gunfight. That's what it is. Yeah.
Take it for what it's worth. Mm-hmm. Had he had a carbine of some sort instead of that shotgun, that firefight probably would have been much shorter. That's all I'm saying.
Well, I can tell you, I only shoot 17 HMR because you can hit a canary off telephone pole 1,000 yards. Okay? So...
And this is why Kris is not in law enforcement of any capacity.
That's why I didn't know what the ballista was, because I only shoot 17 HMR.
Well, that I believe.
Anyway, so the officers, the gun they used to take that bad guy down, I got to hold the exact one today, like the Baltimore issued gun. And so that was cool. And then, so here's what happens that really just made my day. So I'm hanging around annoying everyone in the pro shop. And I think just to get me out of there so no more customers would see me, Mo was like, hey, you want to go see the actual facility? And so, of course, I had to really think it over, and I called my wife to make sure it was okay if I was home late, and just really did everything appropriate. Not true at all. I was like, yes. And he said, yeah, man, let's go. And man, that place is awesome. And the other side of it is, again, at the counter, I did sign a non-disclosure. I think that's more if like you're seeing the actual manufacturing. I can't imagine I saw anything that so I'll put it this way. Everything I saw, you're allowed to film and take pictures of. So you go on our Instagram, you can go on our Instagram and see a lot of the pictures I snagged today. It's called the Ma Deuce. Is that right?
Potentially.
The first one. They have the first one there. You said you got to play with the same one when you toured. I sent you the picture.
Is that a Mark 19?
Yeah.
Or a Ma Deuce? I'm not sure.
No, I think you're right. It's Mark 19. That's right. And
40 millimeter
grenade launcher. Yeah, it's the very first one. And there it sits. Serial number 1. Awesome. Learned a lot of history about the company. And as I told Mo as he showed me around, gave me the tour, and really taught me a lot more than I ever knew about FN and their relationship with Browning and their relationship with Winchester for the last 30 years. Just an amazing company. But every room you went in there made you want to do work. Like there wasn't durability test on the iPhone.
Yep.
Did it pass?
Yep. Bounce check. And we're good.
If we'll film that and put it on YouTube, we can actually maybe get you a replacement case. Just in the future, if you want to throw your phone across the room.
This is a surefire case. It's super tactical. Phone's good to go.
There you go. All right.
I'll try to hold on to it from here on out. Sorry.
Every room in the FN facility made me want to do work. Like I just wanted to get my laptop out and start doing something. I didn't know what to do because I was so overwhelmed. We walked into this room and there's legitimately, go see the picture of me standing behind the Mark 19, and legitimately I'm glowing with admiration. But when we walked in and he turned the lights on, I just set everything down and I was like, let me just take this in for a second. This is unbelievable. Unbelievable. And then I asked Mo, is everybody's reaction as silly and melodramatic as mine? Because it really is overwhelming. He said, yeah, it's all pretty much the same. Every time you walk somebody in here, they're always like, what? What? I mean, you're talking, there's the Mark 17 and 16 are in there, the full auto, the military version of the Scars.
So I've been on the FN factory tour. And specifically, I think the room you're talking about is sort of their show-off room.
Sure.
I don't know what else you call it.
I think it's everything they've ever made.
Other than, we're going to show off all of our cool stuff.
It is awesome.
Have a Mark 19 sitting in the middle of the room. And they got slat wall going all the way around with everything they've ever produced out of that facility. And then maybe a couple things that have come out of Belgium as well. What I remember seeing, which I thought was super cool, was some of the first Scar variants that were produced for the U.S. military, serial number 01, I believe, that were hanging on the wall in there as well. And they were stamped Columbia, South Carolina. They weren't stamped Belgium. Nice. Super cool. So I remember that from long ago when I took a tour.
And that, that's kind of the excitement for me in getting the 509 was A, it's a great gun. And then B, when I looked at it in there today, it said Columbia, South Carolina on it. And I was like, yeah, buddy, come on. 100 miles up the road, baby. Come home. But a great facility, great people. We walked through the halls and even just like guys that nobody there was dressed tactically. Like everybody dressed in business attire, just looking like they're doing business work. Super friendly. Every one of them didn't know me from anybody else. They'd stop and say, hey, ask my name, shake my hand. It was just a fantastic time. So anyway, that's a 20-minute version of me just saying how amazing it was. I don't know how you can schedule that. I'm pretty sure if you're nice enough and shoot an email, they'd probably let you come check out the pro shop and you know, glad hand you. But if you're in the area, if you're ever in the Columbia area, stop by the pro shop and say, hey, a lot of cool stuff and a lot of cool stuff in there, man. And really good pricing. Again, you might have a blemish of some sort on the firearm, but who cares? Who cares? My Glock 19 that I carry every single day, I mean, let's be legitimate here, probably about a 4-inch slice down the slide from just holster wear, and I'm not going to fix that. Why would I fix that? Because that shows I'm using
battle
the gun,
worn, bro.
man. Yeah, exactly. No, it's not.
You should put it on Instagram.
Yeah, it is. If you want to see how to make your own battle worn Glock, you can. It's on our Instagram. Hint: you only need a bronze
you give away that
brush.
knowledge for free.
Yeah, it's pretty insane the way I am. But anyway, good times, and just thanks again to FN. Thank you. Thanks for letting me be a goofball and putting up with me. It was a really, really good time. Okay. Speaking of Columbia, and in no way related to poor FN getting tied to this, have you seen that Columbia is famous now thanks to Live PD and a now infamous 90+ mile per hour high speed chase where a car basically hits a guide wire to a telephone pole and flips itself over. A gentleman hops out of the car that is upside down, so he doesn't hop out. He crawls out, and turns out he's got his 4-year-old daughter in his arms, 3 or 4.
I believe so.
You watch this unfold live, Hulon. Tell me what's up.
So I like Live PD. I enjoy it. And I think for me...
Always looking to see if mom makes it.
Right. It's always a strong possibility. So I'm from Columbia, South Carolina, and now I live in Greenville, which are 2 of the cities featured on the show.
Yeah.
And I saw the other day somebody put on Facebook that South Carolina is the only place crappy enough to have 2 cities featured on the show, which I actually disagree very strongly with.
Yeah.
I think these 2 counties are smart enough to cash in.
Sure.
So they have to be making money off of it. I don't know how much, but they're not doing it for free. Let's be honest.
Sure.
And I've actually...
Has that person never heard of the show Alaska State Troopers?
Right. A week ago, in fact, I sold a firearm to one of the Greenville County deputies who is on Live PD, and we had a very long conversation about what actually goes on behind the scenes. And it's...
I got to tell you, hold on. I was really hoping you were going to say you sold it to a nice black man who said he was taking it home to teach his 4-year-old daughter gun safety 101.
I don't work in Columbia.
Then you saw him on Live PD. All right, go ahead. Sorry.
So I have a little bit of an interest in it just because it's from my hometown. It's also where I live now. I have seen places from both locations that are very familiar. Mm-hmm. Greenville, there was a high-speed motorcycle chase literally about a quarter mile from where I currently live. Nice. So I've seen a couple of things on there that obviously have piqued my interest. With this high-speed chase, it takes a lot for me to see something on TV and it give me that pit of the stomach feeling. Mm-hmm. And this did it. Yeah. It made me actually physically upset.
Well, you watched it live.
Yes, sir.
And then you told me about it, and I went and watched it, and it still made me uneasy. I can't imagine what it's like to not know what's coming. I knew what was going to happen. I was watching for a kid to be drug out of the car. You had no clue. So
if you weren't watching it or you haven't heard this and you live under a rock, or maybe you're not from around this area and Live PD is of no real interest to you, real quick, what happened was there was a huge party, 200 plus people at the party. Fight broke out, reports of gunshots. Richland County Sheriff's deputies start staging about a block away until backup arrives because they didn't want to go in there 2-3 deputies against potentially 200 people. As they're staging, they see a car speed away. Senior Deputy Mastriani pursues this guy and is headed towards downtown Columbia at this point and gets into a high-speed chase. He starts clocking him. They're doing 70. They're doing 90 plus. They get pretty close to downtown Columbia. And like you said, there's basically a big spill. He more or less hits a telephone pole, rolls to the vehicle, and as he's climbing out, it's revealed that he has his daughter in the vehicle. So this is the part where I get upset because he's flailing his daughter around. He's basically runs her face across a chain link fence as he's trying to fight the deputy off.
Yep.
Eventually, he gets the guy's daughter out of his hands and goes to the ground, and they start a little tussle. Mastriani is then essentially begging a bunch of bystanders for help, and no one comes to his aid. There's probably a dozen grown men standing around, and instead of helping, they choose to videotape with their freaking cell phones.
And he's asking for help, and the people refuse to help.
Begging. I think he's begging.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's ignored. It's just being recorded.
Yep.
So, and then as you're watching the video, you see the suspect go to his pocket, and I thought, here comes a knife. Here comes a knife. That's all I could think of. Mm-hmm. Instead, he pulls out dope and tries to eat it to destroy the evidence.
What?
As they were driving, things were coming out the window. Okay.
Okay.
So, which they assumed were drugs. Eventually, backup arrives, and I don't know how long it took. 45 seconds, a minute, somewhere in that neighborhood before backup arrives. It felt like an eternity when I was watching it live. I actually had a conversation with one of my coworkers today, and we were talking about the fact that how would that feel if that were you and you're begging for help?
Yeah.
You don't know how far backup is away, yet you're having to subdue this guy, and it's taking everything you got to hold him down.
Yep.
He didn't know he was going in his pocket. I mean, he could have easily been stabbed,
Sure.
or worse.
Yeah.
And that feeling of, well, you just don't know. So it feels like it goes on for eternity.
Mixed with the feeling of, holy crap, if I have to shoot this guy, my life is ruined.
Sure.
Because I'm
on live TV.
I'm a white cop in a black neighborhood with a black man on the ground. And as un-PC and as impolite as this may sound, this day and age, if that's you, white cop in a black neighborhood with a black man, doesn't matter if he reaches in and tries to kill you with your own gun. Doesn't matter if you just strong-arm robbed a gas station. Your life is over.
And to add to your point, if you actually watch that, go back and watch it. One of the things you'll notice is that when Mastriani comes out of his patrol car, he goes for his gun. He looks to me like he's reaching back, like he's going to draw. Mm-hmm. When he sees the child, he comes away from the gun and brings both of his hands up towards the suspect.
Yeah.
To remove the child from the situation and subdue the suspect.
Right.
That's the only way I can interpret it. That's just what I saw.
That's fair. And you can watch it for yourself. If you go to facebook.com/feltrecoil show, it's up. Just watch the entire clip for yourself.
So as this whole thing unfolds, it's absolute chaos. And I think the value in this show over shows like Cops and Alaska State Troopers and some of these other shows is that it's live.
Yeah.
And so we're seeing this in real time. And it's part of why I think it's brilliant. And my hope is that people start to understand what these guys go through.
Right.
That they are out there to help people. They are out there to stop crime and prevent things like this from happening altogether. Unfortunately, the blowback from social media has been mixed. And I say that as nicely as I can.
Let's see. In what way do you believe it's divided? Is it by income? You think more like, I bet
not so much.
Is it divided by, like, you're saying, like, people that use Twitter more than Facebook are against the police officer and people that use Facebook are more?
I don't think that's it either.
Oh, okay. Do you think it's divided on people who enjoy the outdoors versus those who tend to be more couch potatoes? Would you
No,
say?
sir.
Oh, okay. Maybe it's people who live in apartments versus people who live in, like, freestanding homes?
No, sir. That's not it either.
Oh, wait. I got it. It is people from northern regions versus people from the Midwest.
Canadians?
That's the divide. I guess. That's north. So, yeah.
The issue here is that you have a bunch of people saying that this is police brutality. And then you have a bunch of people saying, this guy showed great restraint.
Oh. Okay, are we just ignoring the child endangerment aspect?
Apparently so. Apparently that's not much of an issue.
3-year-old kid in the car, and you go flying up and down the road, no problem?
Scraping a child's face across a chain link fence at 10:30 at night after doing 90 miles an hour running from the cops with dope in the car is not really a big deal in certain circles, we'll say.
It's a 2-year-old kid, by the way, whose mother says the toddler who was in the car, according to thestate.com, that flipped over while her father fled from police. You're never going to believe this. She is siding with the child's father, saying he's a, quote, great dad. The father of the toddler, 22-year-old Brian Martin, is being held at Alvin S. Glenn Detention Center on a $102,000 bond. He's facing charges of resisting arrest, ill treatment of a child, driving with a suspended license, possession of marijuana, failure to stop for a blue light, and failure to give proper signal. I love that they just pile on. Like, I mean, obviously the marijuana is legit, and the, suspended license and ill treatment of a child and resisting arrest. But then it's like, oh yeah, failure to yield to a blue light and not signaling.
Well, so here's some other things that have sort of come to light. So if you remember, like I said, originally the call was shots fired at this party. Okay.
Obviously,
as it turns out, when they rolled the car over to search it, what falls out but shell casings?
I was going to say an economics textbook. Shell casings, though, was way off.
So the theory now is that, and it's simply a theory, I have no proof, but the things that were being pitched out of the window during the 90-mile-per-hour high-speed chase was potentially a firearm. So there's 40 caliber casings.
What? 40?
Yes,
really?
Sir. Found in the vehicle. So now, obviously, it looks like the reason why he was speeding away from this party may have had something to do with the actual shots fired. Because I usually go shoot up a party with my kid in the car.
I mean, why not? What are you partying?
You got a bunch of kids. You do it all the time.
Every day, man. Every day.
I know the littlest loves it.
My wife gave notice at her work last week, and we got the AKs out
and just started popping them off.
Arab style, as we like to call it. We're very culturally sensitive. So we want to include everyone that randomly fires AKs into the air, so we just say Arabs.
So I'm reading through some headlines regarding this story.
Right.
And I'm as much as it upset me to see this guy throwing his kid around like a rag doll and what I would consider using the child as a human shield to avoid getting caught because, quote unquote, I think I have warrants is why this all happened.
Why did you run? Well, I thought I had some warrants.
Right. It had nothing to do with the gun or the weed or, whatever else.
Maybe you could come up with a legitimate excuse of some sort.
So apparently, and again, like you said, the mother of this child is siding with the father.
Wait. For real quick, sorry. But Michael Brown tried to kill a cop. And his family just got over $1 million.
Why not?
Why wouldn't you side with the dad in this case? Why wouldn't you stand firmly right beside him and wait for your payday?
Well, now we find out via the state newspaper.com that the infant girl's arm was broken in this situation.
So she's fine.
So we tried to play it off, but now it's coming to light that the child actually was injured in this. They didn't know that at the time, and they kept saying on the show, the commentators kept saying, well, thank God no one was actually injured. Now we know the child, the victim in all of this, actually was the person that was injured, which, again, just makes me sick to my stomach. And it takes a lot for me to really feel that sort of emotion about something I see on TV.
Yeah.
But this took it out of me. And so... Again, I think this show is great in that it's showing in real time what's really going on out there in the streets. I made the comment to Lindsay the other day that they should just make this a whole TV channel. It should just be 24 hours a day
watching the cops,
and they just have all these stations or all these departments all over the country, and that's just what it is.
But the problem is, would that help or would that hurt? And so, second question. At what point does it stop becoming a stereotype and it's just a scientific fact? Where do we draw the distinction? Because what I see here is a firm result of a society that is afraid to just say whatever it is.
As you've coined it, though, it's a PR problem.
It is a PR problem, but it's also a cultural issue. Okay, so it's very easy. It's very easy to make jokes about, racist whatever, right? So you could say, well, great, a black man finally sticking around to raise his daughter. And people go, ha, 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 because there's a horrible rash of single mothers in the black community. But to point that out makes you a racist. Well, why are you talking about black people in a negative context? I'm not talking about black people. I'm talking about any culture. You can be white, you can be black, you can be Hispanic. If you're not sticking around to help raise your children, you are part of the problem. Okay? The people I happen to know who largely aren't sticking around to raise their child are black men. That's the way it is. You can call it a stereotype, but if you look at the numbers, it's a scientific fact. I happen to know one black woman who ran away from her family after having 5 kids with her husband for 20-something years. So she's just an anomaly? Is it because she's black? No, it's because there's a culture out there. You can be white or black or Hispanic, and you will fall into this mindset of culture that the individual's feelings is what matters the most, as opposed to a healthy family environment for your children, however old they may be. I have 3 kids of my own, as you earlier mentioned. And I can tell you right now that if I learn to hate my wife, which I don't see as being possible because she pays all the bills and she's awesome. I love her. Yeah. If for some reason she ever hated me, here's what I hope happens. I hope she just comes to me. She goes, Kris, from this point forward, you sleep in this room, I'll sleep in that room. But for the sake of the kids, we're going to have a facade. Okay, you go do and date whomever you please. You do your thing. Whatever you got to do, you go do, and I'm going to do my thing. But I can't stand you, and I don't want to be around you. So you live your life, and I'll live mine. If we can reconcile one day, great. But just know that I'm dating other people, and I think you should too. I would be heartbroken. But sincerely, I tell you sincerely, I would rather put on a charade for the kids where they believe they still have a cohesive family unit while I attempted to work that out with my wife rather than tear the family apart for some sort of selfish reason. Now, here's the thing. That's not a possibility because my wife and I both come from cultures where it was cultivated in us that the most important thing is the family unit. Okay, so we both believe that regardless of what your little squibbles and squabbles might be as a married couple, you get over that because now it's not just Kris. It's not just the wife. It's Kris, wife, boy, boy, girl. It's a whole unit. This is a team. It's a team thing. And it's one of the coaches. I can't just walk away from it. Regardless of how I feel about the other coach at the time, I have to stay there and win the game, right? So, sorry for the sports metaphor, Hulon. So now you're in this culture where people don't believe that the individual is ever accountable for anything. And anyone who says that that individual might have to be held accountable can easily be labeled a racist because there's a cultural issue that largely exists in the black community of individuals who believe they are above the law. And okay, that the law is anti-them only because of the color of their skin. That's all Ferguson was about. When they said, burn this bitch down, which his father did from the back of a truck, and then the people did it literally, and then that city pays them $1 million. Michael Brown's family, the boy who tried to murder a police officer and got himself shot, told the people of Ferguson to burn the city down, and they did it, and Ferguson paid them $1 million for it. That is a society where the individual is not accountable for their actions, and they're forgiven for things simply based on the color of their skin. It's racism. It's racism through and through because we won't hold people accountable simply because they happen to be of a minority color. And that is absurd on its face. It's absurd on its face. When you watch that video, go back and watch the video. Go to Facebook and go to Felt Recoil Show and watch the video. And mark my words, a black woman steps into frame as the police officer is begging for help and is waved away by onlookers and then refuses to do anything. Is it because she's black? No. It's because she lives in a culture, in a society, where the people around her who happen to look like her don't believe the police deserve any help because they will treat her poorly. But here it is on tape. for any objective mind to see that this policeman treated that man more than fairly because he saved the 2-year-old child and he used restraint.
I'm going to say this because I don't disagree with what you're saying. I think, and this sentiment has been echoed by many people that I know, had Live PD not been following this probably would not have gone as well for him as it did.
For the dad or for the cop?
For the dad. I have a feeling he would have been beaten within an inch of his life. And I'm not taking anything away from the deputy who made the arrest. I'm just saying, had it happened, it would have happened because he deserved it. And not because he's black.
Thoroughly.
Let me be real clear. Not because he's black. Because he's a terrible father.
Yeah,
okay?
exactly.
He's a terrible person for putting his child in that situation, for being at this party at 10 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
Shooting guns because the evidence is still in the vehicle, having dope on him, and then running from the cops.
Yeah.
90 mile an hour through a downtown area.
Yeah.
What an idiot.
And to be super clear, that's exactly what I'm saying. I want to be very clear. I don't care about the color of your skin. I don't. But what I care about is if you are a derelict parent, I should be allowed to say that. And I shouldn't.
Without repercussions of being called a racist.
Exactly. The retort shouldn't be, oh, you think that because he's black, or you think that because he's Hispanic. Look, this is my point. 60% of Hispanics in the state of South Carolina, 60% of them are here illegally. And if you go back and listen to the episode titled Kris and the Contractor, one of my biggest beefs with the guy we did trade with on his website, who then performed work in our home, well, he never did. He never even showed his face. He sent a man into my house who admitted to being here illegally and having been caught 5 times. So he didn't have a driver's license. And so here I am, and I'm like, okay, I'm in my house with a stranger who just admitted to committing federal crimes, and my kids are upstairs playing. What do I do? What do I do? Call the police? Call immigration? What do I do?
What are they going to do if you do?
Yeah, nothing. They're not going to do anything because they don't prosecute those people because, again, I don't know where that guy was from. I know nothing about him except the fact that he told me he came into the country illegally and been caught several times and sent back, and so he just doesn't have a driver's license because he doesn't want to get caught again, and he doesn't drive because he doesn't have the driver's license, and if he gets stopped, he'll be deported again. And it's absurd because the only reason we can't combat that is because we're told we're racist for bringing it up. So it's absurd that when we try and combat issues within a community, within a wide breadth of a community here, where we want to go in and we want to say, what is your issue with law enforcement? Well, systemic racism. Okay, slow down. We've had a black president, the highest ranking law enforcement officer in the country for nearly a decade was a black man. What systemic racism
General,
are you talking about? Yes. What are you talking about? Oh, well, just everywhere. Everything's racist. Everything's racist. Stop with the racism. And if you're a black person who's a bad person, fix yourself. If you're a white person who's a bad person, fix yourself. Again, we go back to my problem with the white trash rednecks who go around and cling to their Confederate flag and act like Southern heritage is they don't understand history because that's the history of oppression and, cherry on top, a history of the Democratic Party, right? So if you look at who invented, who were the Dixiecrats, well, they're modern day Democrats. These are people who hated black people, legitimate racists, who separated from the Union, blah, blah, blah. You can go into this history with them. My point here is that those same people on the white side of the aisle are as problematic as the people on the black side of the aisle who scream racism about everything. And it's not, I think the more frustrating part is every white person you'll ever deal with who can't discuss facts simply resorts to calling you the racist. Well, I can't help it that you're such a racist, Kris. What do you mean? I'm not being racist. I'm trying to look at numbers with you. Let's look at single parent rates among different communities. And you tell me who has the higher rate and then compare it to their crime stats. There is a correlation between not having a father in the home and growing up to commit crimes. So if we can fix having a dad in the home, we're more likely to fix the high crime rate. You're not being arrested because you're black. You're being arrested because you likely don't have a dad in the house.
So to tie this into part of my point was I thought Live PD would make people have a common sense view of what law enforcement is like. And instead, this particular event, I think more than any other on Live PD, has further driven division. And so, and you were making the point, does it help? Does it help? I don't know if it helps. I thought it would, but now I'm looking at some of this reaction here and I'm going, well, but Pat, how can you be this narrow-minded? How is that possible that you live in such a bubble that a kid being nearly killed in a car that rolls over and catches on fire, that's suddenly okay with you?
Yeah, because you're incubated in a world where everyone around you is telling you that everyone hates you because of the color of your skin. That's the only way I can draw that conclusion is if I go to school.
It's an echo chamber.
And I learn about the racist history of the United States and how racist, the Republicans were and how they're still racist, which is, listen, these are legitimate theories taught in today's college classrooms where America was a racist nation. It was built on racism, yada, yada. And then I sit through that at school and I go home and I watch the news and I happen to watch CNN or MSNBC where all they do is talk about how, well, this person was mistreated by a police officer simply because he was a minority figure, blah, 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 blah. Well, then I'm going to start to think it's the same as I've said before. If you'll turn the news off, you'll be a lot less racist because on the other side of the aisle, if you go home and watch certain news channels, you'll only think black people commit crimes.
What does the mainstream media do other than drive division?
Sensationalize.
It drives division through sensationalism.
Yeah.
That's what it is. That is all the mainstream media is now.
So, but that's the big point, right? So, but you're getting it from every angle, and especially in the media, and you're incubated in a society where everyone believes this, and so you have no choice. It's no fault of your own. You just start to believe it. What I would want is for us to live in a society where we can look at each other as individuals and say, you did this and it was wrong. I did this and it was wrong. I apologize. You apologize. I'm telling you, if you turn the news off as... forgive me. What is the guy's name, man? Drawing a blank.
Kris Kringle.
The guy from all the Adam Sandler, Rob Schneider. As Rob Schneider tweeted, really super eloquent, actually. And he said, if you'll turn the news off and go talk to your neighbors, you'll find out we're not as divided as the media wants you to think we are.
Deuce Bigelow, male gigolo.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, leave it. When you live in a world
where he's the voice of
that's
reason.
Your voice of reason.
Crap.
It's all in the crapper. It's all in the crapper.
So I think the way to look at Live PD at this point is this is an unintentional social experiment.
Right.
And the reason I say that is, as I'm reading through these articles, and it clear to me, it becomes clear that what I'm about to tell you is a direct result of what we saw last weekend on the show. A&E Network has ordered 100 more additional episodes of Live PD. So clearly the ratings are there.
Oh, absolutely.
People are watching it. Are opinions going to change about cops divided down racial lines? Probably not.
Right.
Probably not.
And to that point, that's my overall argument here is if I'm watching Live PD and I've been indoctrinated with the idea that police hate black people, then that's what I see. No matter what happens, that's what I see. But if I believe police are always in the right, because that's what I've been taught, then that's all I see.
And another thing that I've seen on the show is there are black officers who have been ridiculed on the show for making stops in black neighborhoods and pulling black people over and handcuffing them and searching their vehicles and whatnot. They are being ridiculed by other black people. And it's very funny to me that then it becomes not so much a racial issue as it is just a cultural issue, as it's the black community versus the law enforcement community.
Any community that teaches you that going out to enforce the law makes you a bad guy is not a community worth being a part of. And there are certain communities out there where that's a thing. And look,
well, my question to them would be, so would you prefer it's just the Wild West in your neighborhood? So okay, let's just say you live in a black community. At that point, and you don't want the cops around? Okay, so then we don't come to your neighborhood anymore. The cops do not come to your neighborhood. And tell me what happens.
Yeah.
Tell me what happens. It's not going to work out well.
Well, I'll tell you exactly what happened.
I would never tell the cops I don't want them in my neighborhood.
We don't want the cops in our neighborhood. We don't want the cops in our neighborhood. So they withdraw the police force. Someone gets shot and killed, and then they sue the city. And now you've got a multi-million-dollar settlement that those people get, and then they get the police protection back. Just like burn this bitch down, burn it down, and you get to burn the city down, and the city will pay you $1 million. If you live in or near
and
Ferguson,
not charge you for inciting a freaking riot.
Right. If I lived in Ferguson, Missouri right now, I would be packing bags. And anywhere in the metro area that pitched in to pay that money to that family, I would get out. I would treat it like Detroit, get out and let it implode, because enough's enough. Enough's enough. If the people in control want to make those kind of decisions and pay the family in that kind of way, so be it. But again, it's all legal battles in courts, I'm sure. But it's an unbelievable concept that you can have, again, a culture of people, any race you want them to be, and they can hate police officers, they can urge violence, and then get paid for it. It's hard to fathom, but that's
this is the only place in the world where that could happen.
It's unreal. All right, so we called this, by the way, a while back. I was actually having a conversation today with a gentleman about how Silencer Co. is really reaping what they have sown, because Silencer Co. did a huge campaign, Fight the Noise, Hearing Protection Act, call your legislators, let's get Donald Trump in office and pass the Hearing Protection Act. And now...
That's all it'll take. That's all you got to do.
And within
vote for Trump, and guess what? Everything's legal.
It's so funny, man. Tyranny is always fun when you agree with the people in charge. But then it doesn't work. You know what I'm saying? And that's what they were really peddling out there.
Never would have guessed.
And yeah, they wanted everyone to believe that if Donald Trump got elected and said, let the Hearing Protection Act be law, it would be law. So now Silencer Co. has a whole video series about, well, these things take a while. So please
buy more of our stuff.
We had to lay off 30% of our staff. So if you could come back and buy another Omega. Anyway, this is an article from bearingarms.com. Over the last few months, oh, by the way, the bigger point being, we've said on this program, there won't be a law in place where the government pays you your money back. It's just not going to happen. It's not to that extent. It will not happen. Stop. Actually, stop. Won't happen.
I had a meeting this week with the ATF, and I brought up...
Hold on 1 second. Carmen Patrick's leaving. No, he met with the devil. He had a meeting with the devil. He's leaving now. Make his sandwich to go.
I won't say who I sat with.
You're lucky that...
Because that's not important.
You're lucky I'm letting my wife even make you a sandwich.
But they sort of had maybe I'm being a little too open here, but they kind of had a laugh at the expense of the thought that people would get money back.
Right. Because when does it ever happen?
They admitted that while a lot of these policy changes are probably realistic, the part that's the most unrealistic is people getting their $200 back, because that money's already spent. That money, it costs more than $200. It's my understanding. Don't quote me on this, but it's my understanding it costs more than $200 to actually process a tax stamp.
I have an idea, though, and I think this would be a common sense meet down the middle. I didn't know you were talking to Satan, but since you are, maybe throw this onto his pitchfork next time you see him. Hey, Lucifer, idea. And he'll like this, actually, because he's the devil. Instead of $200 on suppressors, let's make it $50. But, and don't get mad, devil, I'm going to help you make your money back. It's also now $50 to register for whichever church you want to join, paid to the federal government. Huh? And then people go, I
think Beelzebub could get down with that.
Yeah, and the devil's a smart guy. Don't think he's not. And he's going to play dumb. He's going to go, I don't know what you mean there. And he's going to twirl his little mustache. I think he has like one of those little handlebar mustaches. He goes, I don't know what you mean there. And you go, no, think about it. If they can charge us to exercise our Second Amendment right, and certainly you can charge people to exercise their first.
Why not?
It's not a law prohibiting the establishment of a religion. It's just a law finding you for doing it. Pow. And
next time I talk to him, I'll run it by.
Give him the little double pistol thing. I think the devil would like that.
All right.
So What were we even talking about? All right, over the last few months from bearingarms.com. Over the last few months, the ATF met with numerous groups. Oh, now I see. Gun rights groups, gun control groups, and law enforcement officials to determine what firearm regulations the department could do away with. The meetings were a direct result of the Trump administration's executive order, which focused on regulatory reform in order to, quote, alleviate unnecessary regulatory burdens placed on the American people. How about all of them? Anyway, each organization was asked to consider the following questions. What impact current regulations have on gun violence prevention? None. What regulations need to be repealed, replaced, or modified? All. And what regulations are outdated? See previous answer. Although many are wondering what the discussions entailed, a spokesperson for the ATF declined bearing arms. What is wrong with you? Listen to this phrase. Although many are wondering what the discussions entailed, a spokesperson for the ATF declined to provide any additional details. That is a pointless statement. Just remove it from the article. Anyway, all right. Engaging in open dialogue with these professionals allows us to better understand the industries we regulate and clarify our processes and the programs. A spokesperson told the What spokesperson? This is the worst written article I've ever seen in my life. The National Shooting Sports...
I'll give you I'll just rewrite it for them real quick.
Okay.
Some guy told us some stuff
yeah.
about guns and stuff. Well, but we don't really know what he said, but it's probably good. Or maybe not. I don't know.
But you said... All right. The article says... The ATF declined to provide any additional details, period. Next sentence, quote, engaging in open dialogue with these professionals allows us to better understand the industries we regulate and clarify our processes and programs. Doesn't that sound like the ATF talking? But then the end of that is the spokesperson told the Trace. What spokesperson? You just told us the ATF wouldn't talk to you. It's stupid. Anyway, all right. So the National Shooting Sports Foundation says they welcome the discussion with the ATF. It's a unique opportunity, they say, quote, to work with an administration that wants to advance the contributions of the firearms and ammunition industries to our national, state, and local economies. This is what we've said, and I agree. This is probably the best theory. The best way this happens is that the ATF comes out and says, hey, look, we're not gonna go back and refund you your money, but we're just gonna treat suppressors like long guns.
Wouldn't it be cool if a bureaucracy acted for the people?
Why would they do that? They're not elected.
Right. I'm just saying. They always act against us.
No, you're right.
So wouldn't it be cool if they just took the other path?
I see what you're saying. Yeah, wouldn't it be cool? It's like
then we don't even need Congress to get involved. We don't have to talk about $200 refunds and all this bull crap that'll never happen. We can just say, you know what? We're just not going to make those as hard to get anymore.
I can imagine a similar scenario plays out when my 4-year-old and 2-year-old share a room. And I imagine when they go to bed at night, my 4-year-old tucks his hands behind his head with his elbows out on his pillow, and he goes, "Hey, wouldn't it be cool if Dad just let us be in charge?" And his 2-year-old brother's like, "Yeah, man, that'd be cool." And he's like, "I mean, why not have candy for breakfast every day? We'll work it off throughout the day." And then his brother goes, "Yeah, man, it just makes sense." And then they're both like, "Dang old Dad." And that's the end of it. That's what you sound like right now. Hey, man, wouldn't it be cool if the bureaucrats would care about us? Yeah, it would be cool.
Realistically, what they're actually talking about, though, is back, I think, February, I'm looking it up now.
The meetings?
February 10th, there was a white paper issued by the deputy director of the ATF, whose name escapes me at the moment. It's probably not real important. Some guy no one's ever heard of. Chief Operating Officer Ronald Turk.
Oh, that's weird. I had Lucifer's assistant right here. Okay, go ahead.
It's one of his minions.
Deputy Devil. It works.
So he put out this white paper, which was quote unquote leaked, which now everyone knows wasn't actually leaked. It was legitimately published. They just and it was leaked in the sense of, well, if nobody likes this, well, it got leaked.
Yeah, but it's the James Comey leak. Huh?
But if everybody's cool with it, we wanted you guys to see it, and it's been received pretty favorably. So that outlined, I think, probably, if I remember, 15 or so maybe different things that they wanted to address. And it was things from how FFLs operate to classifications of silencers and different things of that nature in the NFA Act and, different gun control measures. And so I think what your article that doesn't really tell us anything is alluding to is that what was discussed was the topics of this that were discussed originally in the white paper from back in February of this year. And so if that's the things they're talking about, then maybe we're one step closer to what I would deem not the Barack Obama term common sense gun reform, but the Patrick Hulan common sense gun reform.
Yeah.
Which means, declassifying some of this stuff and making it more accessible and just less of a convoluted process to buy something like an SBR silencer. I
always dread when someone walks up to the suppressor case at work and says, "Hey, what's the process for buying these?" Oh, man. Because it's so hard to explain and to get it right.
Usually I go, "Nope."
Right.
I just turn around and walk away.
Don't even worry about it, man.
You already don't know? Well, I'm not going to tell you.
You have to go through, well, do you want to register as an individual? You want to be a trust? Well, what's the difference? Oh, Lord, stop me now. All right. Anyway.
Let me break out my handy-dandy ATF flowchart for you, sir.
Hey, we were having a discussion at lunch today. Maybe you can clarify this for me, but
You're wrong.
I'm under the impression that the law has changed, and any modifications to a firearm that improve the value or accuracy must be done by a licensed gunsmith.
That is true, sir.
Okay. Because I said it at a table full of people that I kind of thought knew. But, I mean, I guess they don't have to have known. But when I said, I was like, yeah, I don't know about that. And it was, what? And I said, oh, maybe I was wrong.
That's actually one of the last things Obama did regarding guns before he left office was he signed an executive order that classified or changed the definition of gunsmithing, I think, essentially. So now you meet some different ITAR regulations, and you have to have an FFL 07, which is a license to manufacture firearms, if you were going to modify them in terms of accuracy or monetary value.
Gotcha.
So if you're a gun shop, and which your average gun shop that just sells guns, they don't buy, they don't trade, they're not a pawn shop, they don't manufacture guns, they're going to be an FFL 01, which most gun stores are. Technically, outside of, say, maybe putting some pistol sights on something, that's about as far as they can go in terms of modifying firearms at this point without breaking the law. Now, if you are a gunsmith or a manufacturer, I think, and again, don't quote me on this, I would have to go back and do some reading because this happened several months back and I don't really remember all the details. They're a little fuzzy. But at this point, I think you have to pay an extra tax for permission to basically be a gunsmith.
And vice versa. If you're a gunsmith now, you're treated as a manufacturer and you have to maintain that status as well, correct? Because those are separate things.
Yeah, I think it's become one and the same.
Yeah, but is it one and the same, or is it you? All right, let me see how to ask this question. Is it one and the same where one license covers both, or isn't it still a separate license to be a gunsmith and a separate license to be a manufacturer? But if you're a gunsmith, they already
still
consider
need
you
the
a
same
manufacturer.
FFL, I believe.
It's all 07s?
We could probably talk to somebody local about that. You get an FFL 07, but then you still have to pay the tax. Even if you already have paid for the license to be an FFL 07 manufacturer, you still have to pay this.
$2,500?
It's I was going to say $3,000. It's somewhere in that neighborhood. You have to pay that tax on top of it.
Every year?
I don't know. Okay. It could be every year. It could be every
Lifetime?
Couple years.
Okay. Yeah, all right. Let me not muddy the waters too much. But anyway, I was pretty sure that had changed, and it came up at lunch, and everybody made me doubt myself. All right. Listen, we appreciate you hanging out. Again, thanks to the FM Pro Shop. It is 11:40 on Wednesday night. My alarm went off at 6 a.m. this morning, and I've been on the road all day. I'm exhausted, but so glad to be here and looking forward to seeing you next week. If you have ideas for the show, please email us. Kris, that's Kris, at feltrecoilshow.com. Patrick, common spelling for a common man, at feltrecoilshow.com. And we'd love to see you. So if you're going to be out doing some shooting or mountain biking or whatever, you want to hang, let us know. We'll get out and ride together. All right, we'll see you next time. It'll be episode number 35 the next time we're here of the Felt Recoil Podcast. Bye-bye.